Hare Krishna, I'm so happy to be with you here in Halifax. Seems to be another venue than last year. A little different. But most beautiful timing. Yes. Jaya Rama So, I would like to speak this afternoon on 2 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. 2 verses that explains 2 verses explaining the difference between the devotees of Krishna and all the other people. What makes us so special devotees of Krishna? That and what Krishna explains this difference at the end of the 2nd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. He speaks about external differences and internal differences in 2 different verses. And I want to read these verses and discuss them. But what is the difference between a devotee and an ordinary person in this world? What's it? Or in other words, what's the difference between one who is fully conditioned by the modes of material nature and one who is becoming free from this conditioning? That I will start with text 69 of the 2nd chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Text 69. Yanisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagati samyami yasyam jagati bhutani shanisha pashato mune. What is night for all beings is the time for awakening for the self-controlled. And the time of awakening for all beings is the night for the introspective sage. So introspective sage is the Krishna conscious person. And all beings are the ordinary beings, that humans. So the devotee is very rare. That so this introspective sage is very rare. Purport. There are 2 classes of intelligent man. One is intelligent in material activities for sense gratification, and the other is introspective and awake to the cultivation of self-realization. So one want to enjoy the body, and the other want to realize one's real self, spiritual self. Activities of the introspective sage or thoughtful man are night for persons materially absorbed. Materialistic persons remain asleep in such a night due to their ignorance of self-realization. The introspective sage remains alert in the night of the materialistic man. The sage feels transcendental pleasure in the gradual advancement of spiritual culture, whereas the man in materialistic activities, being asleep to self-realization, dreams of varieties of sense pleasure, feeling sometimes happy and sometimes distressed in his sleeping condition. The introspective man is always indifferent to materialistic happiness and distress, He goes on with his realization activities undisturbed by material reactions. I read the verse once again. Yanisa sarva bhutanam tasyam shayati samyani yasyam shayati bhutani sanisha pashato mane. For this night for all beings is a time of awakening for the self-control. And the time of awakening for all beings is night for the introspective sage. So before we study Bhagavad Gita, whether explaining it or hearing it, we are glorifying or asking for the blessings of the spiritual master and previous acharyas, previous spiritual masters, and Srila Prabhupada, and Lord Chaitanya, and Krishna, and Radharani, and we ask for the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. So in Bhagavad Gita, in our Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning of introduction, and there these prayers are there. So before reading Bhagavad Gita, it's good to pray that and understand the meaning of it, and pray sincerely, and then we can read Bhagavad Gita. In this purpose, Srila Prabhupada said there are two intelligent men, class of intelligent men, material intelligence and spiritual intelligence. But that spiritual intelligence you get only by the mercy of Krishna and his representatives. Therefore, these prayers are important. If you know them, you can pray with me. Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Chitchetaya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiyo Shiyuda Padakamanam Shiyom Vaishnavam Sha Shiyupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savrutam Parjana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shivishakam Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bando Jatpate Gopesha Gopcha Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamama Hripriye Pankha Kalpa Visha Kripa Sindhu Visha Patanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutali Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatak Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So as you have heard from my history, I joined in Ghent in Flanders, in Belgium, and one of the main cities there is Ghent, and we had a small temple at that time in Ghent, and I was with another devotee in the temple. We were only with two in the ashram, and one time it was summer in Belgium is something like the summer in Halifax. It's not a big thing. You get 20 degrees, okay. But it's still a little chilly. But anyway, this was exceptional summer, and there was some heat, it was quite warm. But we were in the middle of the city, and straight at the other side of our house, of the temple, there was a nightclub. We were getting up at 3:30 in the morning, and we opened the window to get fresh air in, because it was summer. And at the other side, they opened the door of the nightclub. So we were getting up, and then at the other side, they opened the door of the nightclub, and first a lot of smoke came out. And then some people came out who were walking not very straight. So for them, they were going to sleep, and we getting up. So it's a different lifestyle. Because of course, this lifestyle, as Prabhupada says, is based on different kinds of intelligence. Of course, there are those who want to enjoy this body, and they are living for the pleasure of the senses and the mind. But unfortunately, that is a great delusion. That Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one who lives for the pleasure of the senses lives in vain, for nothing. Because you may be the most happy person in this life, in your life, and everything goes good. Really, everything goes planned. You are young, you study at the university, you get a nice degree, then you get a first-class job, you get a very nice wife who serves you and who is very obedient, and then you get first-class children, and all these children, they get also good education and get also later married and a nice job and first class. And another person, nothing goes in his life. Misery from the beginning, whatever he tries, nothing works out. 10 times divorced, and nothing works out. That was the result for both. It's the same. They both die. And it's finished. It's all over. It's all for nothing. Whether the bodies you enjoy your whole life or you are in distress. Usually it's a dream that everything goes your way. But mostly it's not. Mostly you don't get what you want. There's also a lot of distress coming in life. But whatever, happiness or distress, it comes to an end. It's for nothing. And it's a life in complete illusion. Because you don't know who you are. You don't know where you come from. You don't know what's happening after death. Complete in illusion. And these people are influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance. passion means I want to enjoy it. That and there's a great strive to get that enjoyment. And the whole world is based on that. People go to the university to get a degree in, what do you call it, to get a master's in business administration. Become a master in developing systems to exploit others in the best way. So that is high material intelligence, but it's just used for your degradation. Krishna says those who are engaged in these passionate activities and who drink alcohol, who eat meat, who are women hunters, or anyway, that they are interested in the senses, eating, sleeping, meeting and defending. And that's what the animals also do. So we are then like, such people are like animals. They have no knowledge who they are. But the Vedanta Sutra says, Atta Brahma Sinya Signans. Now you have the human form of life, which is very rarely attained. That the Veda says there are 8,400,000 species of life. And currently we are going to from lower to higher species, and finally you get the human form of life. What is so special to the human form of life? You have higher intelligence. You can understand that you are not this body. Well, most people cannot. You need quite high intelligence to understand that you are factually the consciousness in this body. That the consciousness, what's the origin of the consciousness? That Srila Prabhupada, he had, one of his disciples was Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. And Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj he got a PhD in chemics. At that time there was another PhD in chemics who got a Nobel Prize and said, and his theory was, at a certain time, so at a certain moment, consciousness is produced by chemicals. And he got a Nobel Prize, interesting. But Dr. Swarup Damodar, he challenged him and said, if we give you the chemicals, can you create consciousness? And his answer was, that we cannot do. So this question that who we are, that's answered in the Vedas. And we can understand this. And unless you understand this, what's the purpose of your life? The Vedas say the purpose of life is self-realization. The purpose of the Vedas, Krishna says, Vedasa sarvarami vavedya. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. Because if you know Krishna, then you can understand your position. And our relationship with Krishna. So this is not understood by the most people, but how to get us that understanding, how to understand that we are a spirit soul. Of course, it's it's nice to hear philosophy, but unfortunately, that is in itself not sufficient. This philosophy, transcendental philosophy spoken by Krishna, is called jnana, knowledge. But to realize this knowledge, one must come to vijnana, realized knowledge. Unless one comes to realized knowledge, what's the use of theoretical knowledge? No, we must come to realized knowledge. But to come to that position of realizing transcendental knowledge, the first thing is you have to change your lifestyle. Krishna explains in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there are three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. That passion and ignorance binds us to this material world. And the goodness is liberating. So therefore, to understand this knowledge, the beginning of understanding, only the beginning of understanding is alive in goodness. Therefore, devotees of Krishna, they live very clean. That they get up in the morning early and they take a bath, shower, and then they put up tilak of 12 places of the body, that with mantras, and then they are dressed in clean clothes every day. Clean clothes. We never wear the clothes we were wearing the day before. Always clean clothes every day. And then we go to the temple. So that is a lifestyle in goodness. And in the morning first, you start to clean. So we clean the gross body by taking a shower, but then we clean the subtle body. The subtle body by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, by chanting the glories of Krishna, by hearing the Bhagavad. So these are activities that cleanses the subtle body. So one may be clean, for the ordinary people, Ordinary people will say, well, why should I wash my hand? Look, it's clean. But no, it's not clean. You have to wash your hands to get all the subtle things out, all the microbes, all the things that when Prabhupada was in New York, he was surprised that some of his disciples were living in an apartment, and in the apartment was no bathroom. That was like that. They had to go to once a week to another devotee's apartment to take a bath. Once a week. So this, because your consciousness, the consciousness becomes, in our original state, the spirit soul, our consciousness is pure. But because we are in this world, due to the contamination of our consciousness, we are taking one body after another. So we have to clean the subtle body in the morning. And to clean the subtle body, we are fixing the mind on Krishna. And because Krishna is described in the Shirsa Upanishad, it's one of the Upanishads. Srila Prabhupada is asking us to study Shirsa Upanishad. And there, Krishna is described as antiseptic and prophylactic. Antiseptic. If you have Krishna in your mind, then generally our desires, our material desires, will be removed. The desires in passion and ignorance to enjoy the senses. And if you are thinking of Krishna, then Krishna is prophylactic. He works like a vaccine. No new contamination can come into your consciousness. A devotee is concerned with purity of consciousness. Purity of consciousness. That's cleanliness. Here, those who are engaged in sense gratification, they have just the opposite. In the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the greatest enemy is lust. Kama isha krodha isha prachuruna smutma masnama papna vityam yavayana. Yes. So that's the greatest enemy is lust, born of wrath, Krishna says, which comes from the mode of passion, wanting to enjoy the senses and the body. And that is the greatest enemy, Krishna says. And this enemy, what is the effect of this enemy on our consciousness? That Avritam jnanam ekena jnanina nityavaina kamrupena kaunteya dushkurena nalena cha. Krishna says, Avritam, it's covering your consciousness. Avritam jnanam ekena. Jnana is knowledge. Ekena is eternal knowledge. What is that eternal knowledge? That you are the spirit soul, the life in this body. That's covered as knowledge. And it makes you identify with the body, which is temporary, but we are eternal. And it makes you strive to enjoy the body more and more, and it's never satisfied. Never satisfied. You want more, and more. They called a survey with billionaires. They had all 1 billion. And yes, what do you want in life? I want 2 billion. That was their answer. They want more and more. Never satisfied. And yes, and this lust, this passion and ignorance is in our subtle body. We have a gross body and a subtle body. In that subtle body is contaminated. This contamination can be removed from our heart. By coming in contact with Krishna. And that can be removed by spiritual processes. And one is the chanting of the holy name, which must be done with the correct inner attitude. And another method is worshipping the deity. So that is what we do in the morning. and we hear about Krishna from the scriptures that we associate with devotees, we learn from them. And we take prasad. That's also a very important practice that ordinary people, they will eat anything. But when Tamal Krishna Maharaj was in China, he was dressed as a businessman, because China is a little special. You can not just go as a devotee. Spoke with a businessman, and the businessman was offering a sweet. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, "Is it vegetarian?" He said, yes, it's vegetarian. It's made of wings of a certain insect. So they have a different understanding of vegetarian in China, probably. But people eat anything. But devotees eat only food. First, it must be in a mode of goodness. That, and it's explained in the 17th chapter. What does food in the modes that it's in the 18th chapter. That you have food in the different modes of nature. That I think it's a little before here. In any case, you have food in a mode of ignorance. That is eating meat, drinking alcohol, and certain vegetables which never see daylight, like onions, garlic, and a few other things. Interesting. I was traveling in India by train, and some of the Indians came to me and said, "I understand you are vegetarian, but why can't we eat garlic and onions?" Well, the scriptures say it is in the mode of ignorance. That the first guru I ever met, that was my Bhakta Pradakshika guru, was Ma Vishnu Goswami. He left us already 15 years ago now. And he was from Gujarat in age. He was from Rajkot, near to Dwarka. And it is sometimes in his village there was a marriage ceremony, and after that there was a feast. It was vegetarian, but especially for those from the Sikh background, they had also preparations with garlic and onions, and it's very hot also, very spicy. And they were taking that, and he said that they were eating that, and afterwards they were fighting with each other. So that's the influence on your consciousness. So yes, we don't eat these things. And then you you have food in the mode of passion, very spicy, hot, that too spicy, too hot, but and a lot of chili, and that causes passion in your consciousness, that and makes you, yeah. Then if many, I've seen brahmacharis in India, they were always eating these chilies, but then they would become easily angry. That so that's also not good. Does the scriptures say we should eat food in a mode of goodness? We should eat all the dairy products from the cow, milk, yogurt, cheese, and grains. Grains are very important. Fruits, vegetables. This is in the mode of goodness, and we prepare food for Krishna in the mode of goodness. Because especially Srila Prabhupada says cow milk, you can digest it at least. Therefore, to digest it, Prabhupada always in the evening to cow milk, but very hot. Because one time his servant came in with the milk for Prabhupada in the evening, and he had it in his hand. And Prabhupada said, "It's not hot, bring me hot milk." Because he could touch it. That's not hot enough. Must be very hot. And then he was drinking that in the evening. So that's our lifestyle. We cook, we live in the mode of goodness, and we cook in the mode of goodness. And then we offer it to Krishna. When we offer it to Krishna, it becomes transcendental. What's so special about it? That transcendental. It gets the quality of Krishna, who is antiseptic and prophylactic. Antiseptic means when you honor prasad, you eat it with devotion, then the food offered to Krishna, then it's purifying your gross and subtle. And it frees you from karmic reactions. Everything that's related to Krishna, if you come in contact with it, it frees you from karmic reactions. And it has a very deep effect on your consciousness, because the scientists say that every cell in your body changes every 6-7 years. So every 6-7 years, you have a different body. But still, the person inside, the soul, is still the same person. The body changes. But if you eat only 6 years, only Krishna prasad, nothing else, because the body is made of food. So you take Krishna prasad, after 6 years, your body becomes prasad, spiritualized. And you will see, if you do that 6-7 years, it's much more easy to think of Krishna. It's much more easy to control your senses. This is the proof that this is really very, very effective. So we have a life in the mode of goodness, where other people, they have a life identifying with the body, which is someone who identifies with the body is on the level of an animal, because an animal also identifies with the body. Humans should not do that. We can understand we are not the body. When Prabhupada arrived in Mayapur, that we had the Gurukul at that time, and Prabhupada was visiting the boys and was asking the boys that, yes, who is the most intelligent boy here? And they all pointed to one boy. So Prabhupada asked the boy that, show me your head. And the boy was going like that. So show me your feet. He was his feet. And so he went over all the parts of the body. And Prabhupada said, this is all yours. Now show me where you are. And the boy became confused. So that is, yes. And we do it naturally usually. When we say, you, me, we point to the heart. Because there is the soul. Naturally we do. Because the Chinese, if you say you, they do like this. A little different. That's something cultural. But yes, so we are different externally, but we are also different internally. Because why are we different internally? It's because a devotee realizes I'm not a gross body, but also not the subtle body, the mind. The devotee, that's more difficult to understand. To understand this, you must have practiced a lot of devotional service and be purified in heart. It's not a scholarly endeavor by which one can understand this. Because to understand transcendental matters, that cannot be understood by material brain. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Dadami Buddhi Yuntam. I'm giving knowledge to someone who Desha Samsata Yuktanam, who always serves me with devotion, with a little love. In Krishna says, Dadami, I give realization from within the heart. And he tells us how he does that. With the lamp of knowledge, I'm going into the heart of the devotee, Krishna says. And I burn away all this ignorance, which makes us all passion and ignorance, which makes us identify with the body. And then we start to see things as they are. So we need to be aware of that. But a devotee who has practiced Krishna consciousness and got some realization from Krishna within by the mercy of the spiritual master, he gets the spiritual power not to identify with the mind. In the mind is a material element. Krishna gives us 8 material elements. Bhumi, Rapanala, Vayar, Kam, Mana, Mudesha, Ahankara, Ityami, Vina, Bhakti. Earth, air, ether, fire, water, mind, intelligence, false ego. These are my 8 separate material energies. So one of them is mind. Mind is a material energy. And it's a material energy. The higher on the mind is the intelligence, Krishna says. It is also a material energy. But higher on the intelligence is the soul, and the soul aspect. How does the soul, how as a soul we can control the mind and not be controlled by the mind? Everyone is controlled by his mind practically in this world. All those who are mentioned here, met with that great material intelligence, still they are controlled by the material energy, and no way to get out of it. But the devotee is not controlled by the mind. He knows I'm different from the mind, and he observes the mind. But for this, one must get realized transcendental knowledge. And based on that knowledge, the soul directs the mind to be engaged in Krishna's service. So you control the mind by engaging it in Krishna's service. If you don't engage the mind in Krishna's service, what will happen? The mind will engage you in sense gratification and degrade yourself. And that's the difference internally between a devotee and a non-devotee. That everyone is a slave of the mind and the senses in this world, but the devotee is not. He becomes free from that. And that is very important, because that's the reason why we are suffering. All this happiness and distress comes in the mind, and we think that's my happiness and distress. That's only a feeling in the mind, and we are not the mind. But so we need to control the mind by always engaging it. That I'm told that a few days ago that like someone has there was a person and he had a bottle. In the bottle was a gin. Gin is a kind of spirit. And he opened the bottle and the spirit came out and said, I'm your servant. Ask me anything you want, I will do it for you. But if you don't engage me 1 second, I will kill you. And the man immediately said, clean the kitchen. And the spirit was cleaning the kitchen, and then I was thinking what I'm going to say, but when it's finished, then the spirit had finished and said, now clean the bathroom. And then I was thinking how to get rid of this. So then finally, when all the rooms were done, he said to the spirit, now you go outside, you see this tree there. And you go to the tree, you climb to the top of the tree. When you are on the top of the tree, you jump to the next tree, come down again, and then you go to the next tree and go climb again up to the top. You jump to the next, comes down, and like this you do all the trees in the forest. And when you are finished, you start again. That's how we get rid of it. But that's an important lesson for us. If we are not engaging the mind, but then the mind will engage us in sense gratification. You chant Hare Krishna. If you don't think of Krishna while chanting, the mind will let you think of something else. You have that also, that problem. That's our problem. But we can get out of it. If you have a good sadhana, in the morning, then during the day, you will be strong enough to control your mind. If you don't have a sadhana in the morning and live in goodness, you will be controlled by the mind. And good luck. It's a life of suffering. There is no more question. So that is it. But of course, there are many details to that, because this internal difference, that's explained in the next verse, verse 70 of the second chapter. It says, as rivers enter into the ocean is not disturbed by the rivers entering into it. Similarly, a devotee, if in his mind some material desires pop up, is not disturbed. He looked at these desires and said, what kind of desire is this? Oh, that's a material desire. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita about the material desire, Yehi samspasya bhoga dukayamina evatel tyantvam vikantesha nateshura mate buddha. The great sages have said that one who wants to enjoy in this world, what is the result? Suffering. Think about it. You want to enjoy, and the sages say it's not worthwhile because the result is only temporary. So don't do it. So the devotee he remembers Krishna's words and sees that desire and says, oh, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to suffer. I don't want that. Forget about it. And then the desire goes away. But you can only do that if you are not identifying with the mind. If you are identifying with the mind, you think, I'm the mind, that's me, that's my desire. And you grab this desire, it's mine. And then what happens? Krishna says what happens. Dayate visyapum samsangre sayate sanyate kama kodu. Yeah, that's Dayate visyapum samsanga stesiva jayate sanyate kama kodu jayate. You meditate on these desires, and then lust develops. You think I'm going to enjoy. It's like a fish in the water. A fish in the water, and you have a fish in the water, and you have a fisher with a line. At the end of the line, there's a bat, a worm. It's in the water. And the fish comes and sees the bat and thinks, oh, I'm going to enjoy. And then it comes and takes the bat. At that moment, the fisherman hooks the fish and brings the line up, takes the fish from the hook and cuts it in two, all the inside out, and put it on the frying pan. The fish becomes fried. We become fried, frustrated. It never happens. So these are lessons to be learned. Only Krishna consciousness gets this freedom from this suffering. And that's only the beginning. The purpose is not freedom from suffering, but it makes you peaceful. And as you think more and more of Krishna, you become purified and you become ecstatic in love of Krishna. And that is a happiness which is beyond this world. Even million times greater than the happiness of entering Brahman or becoming peaceful. So that is what I wanted to share with you, the external difference and an internal difference between devotees and other people. So Srila Prabhupada bless you all that you become devotees and get out of this suffering condition. Any question? Good. Yes.
Yeah. What is the role of soul?
What is that?
What is the role of soul? What does soul does? We have the sense verification, desires to enjoy. Is it coming from the soul or is it coming? How does it come?
So the question is, what is the cause of our desires? Where do these desires come from? That is a complex matter. To understand this, you need a great amount of spiritual knowledge. But I answer your question in short, but to understand it, you need to understand the deeper principles, which I cannot explain in 5 minutes. But desires can come from the soul, but desires can also come from our subconsciousness, which comes from our previous life. Or desires may come into our mind by the influence of our environment. These are already 3 sources of desire. The problem is that because we have lost our pure consciousness, we are only aware of our desires through the material mind. Krishna brings it into our consciousness. But Krishna knows for each of us, in many previous lifetimes, we have tried to do the same thing. Trying to always enjoy the senses and get sense gratification. But it never works out. You are always becoming frustrated. But it's not that you become frustrated that this desire is not there anymore. It doesn't work out fully, that's all. It is still there. So Krishna knows that how we tried in our previous life, and he knows all the desires we have got. And sometimes, not all at the same time, he puts one of these desires of our subconsciousness and brings that into our mind. And then we think, that's a good idea. That's my desire, because we identify with the mind. And one becomes enthusiastic. And this time it will work out. But it doesn't work. And a devotee has that transcendental intelligence, not to follow the dictations of the mind. Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada says, is following the dictations of Krishna within the heart. But unfortunately, if our consciousness is impure, we don't hear his dictations. But if our consciousness is pure, we have direct contact with Krishna. And we hear his dictations. So what to do if your heart is impure? Well, the dictations Krishna gives from within or within Bhagavad Gita are the same. We have to memorize Bhagavad Gita and follow all the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. And then you follow the instructions of Krishna from within. And that's the only thing what I'm doing here, is explaining this Bhagavad Gita, what are instructions of Krishna from within. That, and you can all feel, if you are sincere and have a little purity, that this is reality. Krishna. Yeah. Anyway, does that help? Good. Thank you very much. Shantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ke Jai. Prabhupada ki Jai.